Hey, this is Brian Wilkerson from MA-Motorsports. We're going to be doing a tour of Mike Power's S15 Silvia build that we're doing for him here at MA-Motorsports. I'm going to try and do several episodes of this throughout the process. First one's going to be basically just what I'll show you here is chassis work that we're in the process of doing, why we're doing certain things, where we're putting things, why we're putting them there. We'll start at the front of the car here with the engine of choice, which is a 2JZ. Mike had this engine in his S13 and we decided to go with it in the S15 as well. It seemed to work out really well for him. We are going to be making some changes to it though. Currently it's a wet sump setup. We're going to switch it to a dry sump. We're also going to mount it differently. We're going to use the motor plate that HGK Racing makes. We're going to be getting that in a few days here hopefully. And between the dry sump and the motor plate, we should be able to locate the engine a little further down and a little further back, which will help offset the weight of this giant, heavy inline six. Some of the fab work we've done so far on the front end is some basic stuff like just block off holes in the firewall that we're no longer using, which is most of them. We're going to be adding our own holes for dry sump oil system, radiator, plumbing, and then maybe some small wiring stuff, but not a whole lot's going to go through the firewall like it once did. We got all our seams cleaned up here. We're going to stitch weld everywhere that the car wasn't already stitch welded. So the chassis came to us with this really nice cage in it and some of the stitch welding done. That was done by Top Garage in Atlanta area, I believe. They are really good at doing roll cages. Back to the front end. Once I do get that motor plate and once I get the engine located, I'm going to finish the tubular front end. Here I have some base plates welded in, and we're going to run some tubes from here down to here. Again, I got my base plates welded in, but I want to make sure the engine's in the right place, and I have clearance for the tubes here. Clearance is going to be an issue between the tire at full lock in this area, like full lock and full bump, and then this giant Plasma Man throttle body intake manifold combo. So before I do something twice, make sure I have all the parts in place. Also this replaceable front end, we've been doing this on cars for a while now, but made life a little easier. We got these plates pre-cut from Bink Industries. That saved me a lot of time. He sells a kit, which is pretty trick. Really well cut, especially for being CNC plasma. That's all welded on for good. Completely replaceable. Square tubing structure here, and then it'll get a crash bar coming off that you'll see in a future episode. Otherwise, that's really it for fabrication in the front end so far. Still waiting on some parts. Then we can mount the fenders, bumper, headlights, intercooler, etc., etc. On the inside here, we've done a bunch of work, including this trans tunnel, which has, let me get this light down here. That was a fair amount of work right there. We built like a tubular structure, some 1/2-inch tubing, just to give it some rigidity and give us a good frame to build the sheet metal off of. And then we used 18 gauge steel, bead rolled it just to give it a little pattern and a little more rigidity. The top of the tunnel here is going to be completely removable so we can service things a little bit easier. It's not really necessary, but I figured while we're in here I'm making a bigger tunnel to make things easier to work on from underneath, we might as well make the top part removable. We've also started installing this Monster Service carbon dash, which is really trick. They make a S15 Silvia dash that's carbon fiber and left-hand drive. Very convenient for us. Here on the driver's side we have a bit more fab work. S13, S14, notorious for it being tough to get the seat low, so we cut out what is referred to as the cat hump It's like a hump in the floor that would normally be here, and the catalytic converter basically fits under there. We cut all that out, formed a piece, bead rolled it again for rigidity, and that allowed us to get the seat mounted really low. Made some brackets for it, as you can see. Very simple, so there isn't much adjustment in them. The idea was to get the seat as low and far back as possible, and then bring the rest of the cockpit further back to him. So we made a pedal box mount here that has a lot of adjustment, in case maybe somebody else were to drive the car someday, or I don't know, you wanted to move a seat around. We can move the tilt and pedal box fore and aft here some. And then this here is a mounting bracket for the HDK handbrake. And just a little more footage of trans-tunnel side panels, which I'm pretty proud of. They turned out pretty good. Looking up through the back seat area here, we have the beginnings of our rear bulkhead. Formula D rules requires to have a bulkhead between the driver and fuel cell, radiator, other bits that we're going to have located in the back of the car. So we have a few panels here already made, and actually this big missing center panel piece in here we do have made. We just haven't bead rolled it yet to install it. But that will get that'll get some more welds on it, and then seam sealed so we don't get any gunk or anything. It'll most likely get some coolant hoses passing through over here, wiring stuff up in here, but it won't get a whole lot passing through it. Most of the hoses will run under the car. Here we started to put the windows in. It's a kit that he got for us, which saves us a lot of time. They're pre-cut plastic windows. Pretty trick. They're all the right thickness too for being Formula Drift legal, which is nice. This one in particular we installed with a hinge, as you can see, so that we can get to our nitrous bottle. The bottle location I got from Matt Field's S14, which I always thought was really cool. The only thing I did different was hinge the window and used a quick latch button. Get that to focus. There we go. These things are really cool. The rear window, again, is from the kit, and all we did was it's just cleat in for now, but it'll get bolted in, so it's removable for servicing. And we cut it out here, as this is our radiator inlet. And you can see this is his old fuel cell can, which is also mounted. We added a strut tower support tube here, and then I built off of that using some rectangle tubing. This allows the cell to slide out of the back if need be. Again, just makes things easier to service. We should still, even with the firewall at this angle here, should still be able to lift it up and out if we need to, especially since it doesn't have a tube in the back here. Reinforced the top of the rear shock towers too. Back of the car is chopped off, as most of these drift cars are, for ease of maintenance and repairs. We got our wheel wells opened up big time to allow for wheel travel, and closed off as well to keep smoke and rubber from accumulating in the cabin. In the back here we have our new structure to bolt rear crash bars to. Again, these are from Bink. Nate over there at Bink. These plates pre-cut and drilled. Saves me time, so that's really cool. This will be a substructure here that the radiator and batteries will bolt to. Most likely mount a sway bar tube as well. And then a crash bar will bolt to that structure. So it'll be like 2 layers here. Also made room for our quick change differential. That's one of our skid plates. Nice and simple, lightweight. That's really it so far. It doesn't sound like much, but believe me, it's a lot of hours involved so far. You guys have any questions? Leave them in the comments. If there's anything that you want to see in particular in the next episode, also let me know. Be happy to share what I can with you guys.